Hey guys, Ty and Bryson here, and welcome to my show. And today we're officially about to do the first live budget where I grab someone and basically help them out with their budget. So if you want me to do this for you for free, maybe like $500, just like text me and stuff like that, we'll find out. But the idea is, for the first time ever, I'm going to do this right here live, and I do make videos every single day. So make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to get notified every time I post a video. And on top of that, also smash the like button. Now, without further ado, here is my first client, or my first person that I found on the internet that's actually going to tell me all their personal information so I can create a full budget for them. Now, my budget is very simple, guys. When it comes to my budget, I believe in 6 things: emergencies, paying back your debts, investing money, expenses, fun, and on top of that, also doing some charity. And when I say charity, like 1%, not like 10%. Relax, okay? Relax, everyone. Okay, so now let's get started. So the first thing is this, Trish. What's the first thing you think about when it comes to finance? Like, what exactly do you want to do? Like, what's your goal?
So I'm trying to get more into investing. That's honestly my main goal right now. I feel like I have a good amount of money saved for that, and it's just sitting there. I'm trying to, instead of just sitting there, I want to work for me.
Okay. So before we get to investing, the first thing I want to ask you is basically your income and your expenses, and that way we can figure out exactly how much money you have left every single month. If you're negative, if you're positive, and exactly what's going on. So the first thing is this, like in total, because you showed me this before, your expenses, like what's the total for your expenses every single month?
So for my expenses, the total right now is $1,500.
So $1,500, and your income?
And my income right now is $1,700.
1,700, and then you have like 2 sources of income, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so the first one is your main job, and the second one is like your side gig that you actually do, right? Do you have any debt?
I have student loans.
Okay, and that's fine. And your monthly payments are how much?
Like $60.
Okay, so $60. Okay, that's fine. So now the first thing I want to ask you is this, right? How much money do you have, like just like not doing anything whatsoever, just like sitting down, like just taking dust?
Like $4,000, $5,000.
4,000.
There.
So let's put it in the middle and say 4,500. So let's say you have 4,500, and you said, for example, all of your expenses like combined are like $1,500, right? Now, do you have an emergency fund?
So that would be like the savings that I have would be like my emergency fund.
What you have is basically like a side of savings that you haven't really put a name to it yet, right? So
yeah, exactly.
So let's say, for example, the average thing that you actually want to have is usually around 6 months worth of all of your expenses. So in this case, if your expenses are like $1,500 times 6, that's around $9,000. However, if you want like maybe like a shorter cushion, maybe like 3 months, that'll be 1,500 times 3, which would give you 4,500, which is exactly how much money you have right now. So that basically means when it comes to like investing, the first part is like emergency fund, right? So that's gonna basically be there for like if anything happens to you, or like your family, or like your house burns down, or anything crazy, or your car breaks down, like that money's gonna be there to basically take care of everything. So if we do 3 months with all of your expenses right now, that's around $4,500. So right off the bat, all of your invested money that you kind of thought you had is gone. You don't have it anymore. So I know you told me prior that you want to keep that money in your like under your bed, locked up, and as a secret.
Yeah.
Okay. So then, okay, let me just ask you. So okay, so what's your main concern when it comes to like why do you have the money like in your house?
So I just kind of like having it there, so I don't really use it. So it's kind of like a backup. Because if I have it in my bank account, it's just gonna be, oh, it's fine. I have a lot of money in my bank account. I'm gonna go shopping, or I'm gonna go buy food or something like that. Okay. So I'd rather just have it on the side, because I still have money in my bank account, like a good amount, but
yeah,
that's just like, it doesn't exist to me.
Okay, that's perfect. All right. So the main thing with that is this, right? I used to do the same exact thing. So at one point, my house had like around $20,000, and it was just like sitting there, and like there's something called inflation, right? Which means like the valuation of money goes down every single year if it's not doing anything, right? So what I recommend is this: you get it, because right now you have Chase, and what's the other bank you have?
Citibank.
And Citibank, right? What I recommend you do is this: there's this bank account called Wealthfront, right? And it's basically like just a savings. And for the money to get there, it takes 3 days. The money to come back, it takes 3 days also. On top of that, there is no debit card. Okay, so what that means is kind of like the same exact thing you're saying right now, like, out of mind, out of sight. However, though, it's in a bank account, it's FDIC insured, and this way, if your house burns down, your money doesn't go away. So that's like a solution for that, right?
Mm-hmm.
You happy with that?
I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Okay, but I'm serious about that. It helps a lot, trust me. And then, okay, so if we covered your savings, like for emergencies, if we have that covered and we put that in that bank account, one, your money is secured. On top of that, it also gains interest, which means like it's not just sitting there doing nothing in a sense, right? And that way, if you ever need the money for an emergency, you can take it out, but it takes 3 days to take out, right? So it's not like if you need to, for example, go to like Whole Foods or whatever, you can't just take the money out whenever you want, because it doesn't make sense. It's gonna take too long to actually get there. So now that we covered your entire emergency fund, you can actually fund that right now today. We can talk about, for example, your investing, right?
Going back to that, they don't charge at all to have the money on it, just to confirm.
They don't charge a single penny, a single dollar.
So what are they getting out of it? Why is it free?
They're getting your money. Because if you don't know, what happens is when a bank has your deposits there, they can basically go ahead and lend that money to other people.
Yeah.
Exactly. So instead of, for example, Chase giving you, for example, 0.0015%, what those banks give you is like a better deal. So you can go from Chase to them, and they can use that money to like lend it out and stuff like that. But it's also FDIC insured, just like Chase, which basically means if the bank fails, the government has your money. The same security as what Chase has and all the other banks. So that's why.
And that's confirmed.
100%.
All right.
So it's safer than your mattress.
Trust issues.
Okay. Safer than your mattress. Okay. So right off the bat, if we were to do that right now today, that would put your entire like account at 0. So you would have 0 money right now, like starting fresh. However, if we do some quick math here, it shows that, for example, once you're done paying, for example, all of your expenses and also with your income, you have left $278 every single month, like free money, right? So that means that right now, like your expenses are around 84% of all of your money. So that only really gives room for 16% extra. Now, you told me you don't have any debt whatsoever. Well, you do have debt, like, but student loans like $60, and then on top of that, you're paying for a trip that's like $61. So your debt is like what, like $120, and that's already included into your expenses. So it's really like not really that relevant, right? So you really don't have any like credit card debt or any like massive loans. So the main thing is, if we use that 16% that's left over, we can probably take 10% of that, right? And then put it towards investing. Now, what are your questions when it comes to investing?
Where do I start? Where do I go? Where do I put the money? Where do I know what to put the money in, like stuff, like learning how it works. Like I generally have no idea. Like I said, I have the Stash app. I don't know if you heard about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like a small investment app. So I have like maybe like 100 or 200 invested on it. But it's like small income. It's like maybe like $10 or something like that.
Okay.
But I'm trying to like either own shares or something like that. Something's gonna have a bigger.
Okay. So when it comes to investing, you want to have a more passive role, meaning you don't really want to do a lot. Like you just want to like have your money work for you.
Exactly. It's like the long run.
So for that, there's something called like an ETF, right? Or for example, an index fund. Now, what this is basically, say for example, if you invest into Apple today, right? And you invest into Apple, it costs like $300 a share today. So if you put that money in there, if Apple keeps going correctly, like for the next 20 to 40 years, you're good, right? You made some money. However, if Apple drops today and it goes bankrupt, you just lost all your money, which is bad. So you want diversification to actually get this passive income. So when you invest into an index fund, for example, the S&P 500, what you basically get is the top 500 companies in the stock market, and you can buy the entire portfolio basically for a fraction of what they're all worth in a sense. So you'll have this entire like bucket full of all those stocks. So if one stock goes down, doesn't matter, you still have like another $4.99 and another one goes in. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I've seen it like that in like the Stash app. So I learned a little bit about it, but not so much.
Okay.
So you could invest in a whole portfolio and it has different businesses within that portfolio.
Exactly. And the app I recommend for that most of the time is probably ACORNs. Because it charges you $1 like every single month, right? And once you have like over $400 invested, the dividends that your investments pay you cover the entire fee. But the idea is if you keep investing into this portfolio, the portfolio has, for example, bonds, which is like government debt and stuff like that, and also, for example, corporate bonds, which is like company debt, and on top of that, it has like foreign like companies and also U.S. companies, and this way you have more diversification. So if you're investing like this for like the long term, this way you can have like a greater output at the end of the entire journey. So if we were to put down 10% of how much you make, right, which how much you make is like 1,700, that's like 170 every single month towards acorns. Okay, so say for example, if you invested 10% of your income, which is like $1,700 for the next, like, for example, 40 years, which sounds like a long time, but that's like 170 every single month into like your acorns portfolio, and it grew at around 7% every single year, right? Not including the dividends, because you also get paid dividends, which is around like 2.35% when I did my calculations. Well, after 40 years, you're gonna have around $438,000 in that account. But the main thing, but the main thing is like you're not gonna have the same job you have like forever, all right? So like as you get like a newer job and stuff like you start making more money, you can put more money towards it. Like an example is for me right now, when I'm done with like my next 40 years, I'm gonna have like maybe like $3 million in there, because I'm putting in a little bit more money. But like once you have like a better job, you can just put in more money, and that's basically it. So for investing, so emergencies, all you really need to do is, for example, just put in like the $4,500 into your wealth fund account, and that way, if anything happens to you whatsoever, you have that money there and it's secured, and it's also earning you some type of interest. For investing, you can take 10% of your income and put it, for example, into acorns, and that way everything is like kind of like growing step by step. If you want, you can make like acorns like recurring, so it just does it automatically for you, and you don't have to think about it whatsoever. And then your current debt right now is around 7% with, like, for example, your DR trip, and the other thing was what?
The loans.
And then your student loan debt, right? The main thing is when it comes to student loans, you can either do two things. You can either knock that off like very quickly. So once like you have like a higher income, you can start putting more money towards that, or you can just start putting more money towards your investments. And if your investment make enough money, then your investments can just basically pay your interest on your student loan debt, because it's so minimal usually. So to summarize everything, okay, the main thing is that when it comes to, for example, emergencies, you don't have to put anything towards that because you already have that money. Now, initially, what I think you want to do was like use that money to invest, but I don't really recommend you do that, and here's why. Because if you invest that money, but then something happens to you, you're going to be forced to go ahead and take that money out, which is going to ruin your long-term plan to just invest for the long run, right? So by investing that $4,500 into Wealthfront, which is like an external bank account, and that way you don't have to touch the money, that covers your 3 months worth of expenses if anything happens to you whatsoever, okay? When it comes to investing, you can invest 10% of all of your income, right, into acorns, for example, which is 170, and in 40 years, that's going to add up to around $450,000, which is fair. And if you even have, for example, like a Roth IRA or, for example, a 401k at work, and they match anything that you actually deposit, take advantage of that if you can. And when it comes to debt, since you only have 120 is only like around 7% of your salary of like $1,700 every single month. So that's actually pretty good. Once you're done with that money, like paying that back, which is like gonna be like 6 months, something like that, you can, well, not 6 months because you still have to pay like student loan debt stuff. Once you're done with that, you're gonna have like 3% left or whatever, 3.5% left. You can use that money and put that money towards more investing, which is fair. That way that money makes more money. When it comes to expenses, which is 77%, you can't really fix your expenses because they're all like necessary, and I see them right here, they're all like necessary. So what you can probably do is try to work on increasing your income. That's like the best thing you could probably do, increase your income. And I know you said I'm planning on getting like a new job like in 1 more year as I get experience, stuff like that. So that's not gonna be a problem for you. So when that happens, you can keep your expenses the same. So don't change that. Don't start buying new stuff, and just use the extra money you're making to basically like just invest more money. When it comes to fun, I know you like free stuff, but the main thing is, the reason I always put like a fun account for like 5% is because you need like balance, right? So if all you're doing is saving and investing, eventually you're gonna feel like frustrated. Next thing you know, you have like a new MacBook in your house. You see what I'm saying?
No. You gotta live your best life. Bust your ass working, but you gotta live your best life always.
Exactly. So you can have fun and also give yourself a budget of 5% to go out there and just have fun. And lastly, charity is 1%. So that's like $17 every single month, which is fair, and it makes a big difference. If literally all of my subscribers donated $1, that would be $125,000. And also another thing is this, right? When it comes to investing money, again, you can do it like passively, like with acorns, like those are stocks, like whatever ETFs, and like step by step it keeps growing and growing and growing. But eventually, if you want to do also, you can basically just like chop down the percentage of 10% into 5 and start saving money aside and just use that money you actually have there to learn more about how to basically like do a side hustle that can make you extra income on the side also. For example, like I know you want to start like a marketing like agency or whatever, you can use some of that money to read and like basically buy some courses about how to do that correctly and also how to market yourself, and that way you also increase your skills, because the higher skills are, the more money you're gonna get paid also. So like investing account, it's all about basically whatever you put that money towards, it has to make you some return. And sometimes the biggest thing is basically, well, what if I don't know exactly where to put that money, right? And that issue is basically if you want to do like the stock market, do ETFs, very safe index funds. If you basically want to increase your income, you can do a side hustle or you can get a better job. But a side hustle, you have more control over it because it's like on your time. But another job is usually going to be the same hours, going to give you X amount of money. And it's going to have to be like fixed, you know? So my recommendation would be like, if you can and if you want to, just like grab some of the extra money you're like getting and put it towards like getting some courses, getting some books. And that way you can like read more about like doing like different things, can actually make some more money on the side. Because a job and also like the side hustle is cool, but if you can like make like your own thing, your own business, like it's gonna give you a lot more money than ACORNs will or anything will. And you can also get into real estate eventually if you want to also.
Somebody told me to do that, since I don't have the money to invest obviously in a property, try to get my real estate license, like the certification thing. So I'm looking to that and see how much that is, because they're like, if eventually you want to invest in a property or something, if you have your real estate license or whatever you call it, I'm not sure exactly of it. If you have that already, it's like you don't need to worry about that. It's already done. You already did it in the past.
Okay.
So I'm gonna look into that and see what that's about as well.
Okay. Yeah. So when you're buying, like for example, like real estate, you can just like hire an agent. So you don't really need like to get the license unless you plan like on selling real estate yourself. If you want to make like a side job, you can if you want to. There's a lot of money into it, but it's like sales. So if you want to do sales, I'm not good at really like selling things like that. But if you want to do sales, get a real estate agent, like real estate license is actually very profitable. But the main thing is, right, I had this guy, his name is Meet Kevin, right, and he does real estate a lot, and he has like $4.5 million in real estate. And what he tells me all the time is basically, tell me the first thing you want to basically do is take away the rent that you're paying right now and put it towards a property, right? In this case, you need to have like at least maybe like 1 to 2 years of like your entire like income reported, so that way the bank can actually give you a proper loan. So say for example, if you were going to move into a property that you actually want to buy, and that property costs like maybe $150,000 to $200,000, you can get a FHA loan, which is a first time homeowner like loan, and put down 3.5% of whatever the property is worth, right? If the mortgage is less than $1,000, that's fine, because basically you're basically paying for the rent you were paying for anyways, but in this case you have more control because basically like your property. That's the point I'm making. You don't need to invest into like getting like a real estate license, but you can invest into like just getting like some books on real estate and learning how it works, and that way you don't have to spend that much money, because like a book costs like $5, $12, and you get all the information from somebody else that already did all that work for you. So you kind of like just like stream the entire process. And guys, that is about it for today's video, and I want to thank Trish for coming on the channel. And on top of that, if you also want to come on the channel, just leave a comment down below or DM me on Instagram, Tiny Bryson. And as always, if you guys enjoyed this video right here, well, like this video. On top of that, also subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you get notified every time I'm posting a video. And on top of that, if you want to watch another video on how this guy right here bought a $45,000 boat to live in LA, watch the video right here. Also, go to my page right here, right now. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for watching, and as always, peace.